This aircraft is part of a multi-billion-dollar presidential air security system originally built to transport Russian government officials, including Vladimir Putin himself. Now take a look at Ibrahim Traoré stepping out of the same Russian government-grade aircraft. That is how he flies when leaving this African continent. But when he is flying across the Sahel, things become completely different. Take a look at him, boarding the most heavily protected tactical aircraft in the Sahel, operated by the Burkina Faso Air Force. The Sahel is one of the most terrorism-affected and unstable regions in the world.
Islamist militants are killing more people in the Sahel region than anywhere else on Earth.
You go to sleep at night, and in the morning, there are corpses lying around your village.
One of the highest priority targets for extremist groups is often the head of state, especially when that leader governs a country in the Sahel region. The first leader to become famous for surviving an extraordinary number of assassination attempts was Fidel Castro. He survived 638 reported assassination plots. The person who may understand what that level of threat feels like better than anyone alive today is Vladimir Putin. He is believed to face well-planned assassination threats on a regular basis, with reports of at least one major alleged plot emerging nearly every year. He shares that distinction with Ibrahim Traoré, who has survived 20 assassination attempts during his 4 years in power. With such a significant target on his back, his flight protocol must be extraordinary. Let's take a look at how Ibrahim Traoré flies. We will trace his journey, starting with this humble Airbus C295W, where he flies far more exposed to the threat of surface-to-air missile while operating over the Sahel. Finally, I will show you how he flies aboard this massive Russian Ilyushin aircraft designed to transport and protect Vladimir Putin himself. I will also reveal the surprising connection between this Russian aircraft, Vladimir Putin, and Ibrahim Traoré, a story that many people have completely got wrong. When Traoré travels within Burkina Faso or to neighboring countries, he doesn't immediately call in the heavy Russian Ilyushin. Instead, he relies on the crown jewel of the Burkina Faso Air Force. Take this example from his visit to Ghana. It was January 7, 2025. The Airbus C295W you just saw lifted off from Ouagadougou and landed at Kotoka International Airport in Accra, carrying Ibrahim Traoré to the inauguration of Ghana's newly elected president, John Dramani Mahama. This was no ordinary trip. 17 other heads of state attended the ceremony that day. Most arrived aboard private charter aircraft or polished VIP jets. Traoré arrived in a tactical military transport aircraft with a rear cargo ramp. He stepped off the ramp wearing brown camouflage, a red beret, and a holstered sidearm that was clearly visible on his hip. What happened next caught the Ghanaian organizers completely by surprise. As he entered Black Star Square, the crowd erupted.
Ibrahim Traoré.
He got the biggest applause. Thank you, my brother. Thank you very much.
Local media also reported that he drew the biggest public reaction of any foreign leader in attendance. Days later, the BBC published a story focusing almost entirely on the fact that Traoré had attended the inauguration while carrying a sidearm. The Ghanaian government made no public statement in response. Now think about what just happened. A sitting president of a country at war flew into a foreign capital aboard a military transport aircraft, walked across the tarmac armed, stepped onto the stage of another head of state's inauguration, and the host nation's security allowed the visit to proceed without public objection. That single event suggests that Traoré's travel protocol is highly unusual. So, how does that protocol actually work? It begins long before the aircraft ever leaves the ground. Hours before departure, the aircraft is thoroughly inspected and secured. It is swept for explosive devices, electronic surveillance equipment, and any signs of tampering. Fuel is drawn from a trusted military-controlled source rather than a public airport fuel system to reduce security risks. The flight crew consists of military personnel who undergo extensive vetting and are regularly rotated. The passenger manifest is tightly controlled. Communications are fully encrypted. The flight plan is filed as late as possible and may occasionally include deliberate routing measures intended to enhance operational security. Friendly air defense and radar networks quietly monitor the airspace along the planned route. Meanwhile, at the destination, an advanced team arrives ahead of time to coordinate security with the host nation. They transport the president's secure communications equipment, close protection gear, and, where legally permitted, his personal defensive equipment. Now add the aircraft itself to that security doctrine. The choice of aircraft is a critical part of the protection strategy. The aircraft Traoré uses for travel within Burkina Faso and across the Sahel is the Airbus C295W, registration XT-MBH. It is the only C295W currently operated by the Burkina Faso Air Force. Its selection was well suited to the type of operations required in the security environment facing the country. The Airbus C295W is a twin-engine turboprop tactical transport built by Airbus Defence and Space in Seville, Spain, and operated by dozens of air forces around the world. It can carry up to 9 tons of cargo or as many as 71 troops. It cruises at approximately 480 kilometers per hour and has a service ceiling of 25,000 feet, or about 7.6 kilometers above the ground. The W stands for winglets, the upturned tips at the end of each wing. In the hot, high-altitude conditions of the Sahel, where thin air reduces lift and increases fuel consumption, those winglets improve fuel efficiency by approximately 3 to 6%, while also enhancing takeoff performance. With only one aircraft of its kind in the fleet, there is almost no margin for error. That efficiency becomes a matter of survival, but the real reason this aircraft fits Traoré's operational needs is what it can do on the ground. The C295W can take off from as little as 670 meters of unprepared terrain, including dirt strips, compacted desert surfaces and damaged runways. That allows Traoré to travel directly to forward operating locations where Burkinabe forces are actively fighting insurgents even when the airfield barely exists on a map. Airbus offers the C295 with optional cockpit armor, chaff and flare dispensers, missile approach warning systems, and laser warning receivers. Whether all of these systems are installed on XT-MBH has never been confirmed publicly, so any claim about its exact defensive equipment remains informed speculation. However, the C295 has built a proven combat record in environments such as Mali, Chad, the Sinai, and across the Sahel, where shoulder-fired surface-to-air missiles are a documented threat. A presidential aircraft operating over northern Burkina Faso, where armed groups have repeatedly attacked military aircraft, would almost certainly operate under enhanced security procedures. So how did this aircraft end up in Burkina Faso? The story begins in 2017. That year, Burkina Faso's parliament approved a military modernization program with a budget of 725 billion CFA francs, approximately 1.2 billion US dollars, to rebuild the country's armed forces. On December 11, 2019, the Ministry of Defense officially ordered one Airbus C295W. At the time, Burkina Faso's transport fleet consisted of 3 small Beechcraft B-200 aircraft and a grounded CN-235-220. The country had no operational medium-lift military transport aircraft. XT-MBH made its maiden flight from Airbus's assembly line in Seville on November 11, 2021. 5 days later, on November 16th, it was officially delivered to the Burkina Faso Air Force. A single aircraft, painted in military colors, registered as XT-MBH. It immediately entered service with the transport squadron based in Ouagadougou. Today, that same aircraft carries Ibrahim Traoré to destinations including Ghana, Mali, Niger, and forward operating bases inside Burkina Faso itself. But when the journey extends beyond the African continent, the C295W is no longer enough. Its range is limited, its strategic capabilities are limited, and it does not project the same diplomatic message. For those missions, something entirely different arrives in Ouagadougou. Now, rewind to the afternoon of May 7, 2025, Ouagadougou International Airport. At 2:18 p.m. local time, a 4-engine wide-body aircraft from a country nearly 6,000 kilometers away touched down, taxied off the active runway, and came to a stop. On board were a Russian flight crew and Russian security personnel. But the passenger cabin in the rear was empty. The aircraft remained parked overnight under security while it was refueled and prepared for the next day's mission. The foreign government had positioned one of its own presidential-grade aircraft in the heart of the Sahel, waiting for one man. The following morning, May 8th, the presidential convoy began moving toward the airport. The decoy Toyota Land Cruisers, the masked commandos, the security agents dressed in faso danfani. You can see them. Traoré moved through the gate, crossed the tarmac and climbed the air stairs. At 9:25 a.m. Ouagadougou time, the aircraft lifted off and turned northeast toward Moscow. At 2:04 p.m. Moscow time, it touched down at Vnukovo International Airport. Waiting on the apron was a high-ranking Russian government delegation representing Vladimir Putin. Now look at the aircraft the way an observer outside the airport fence would have seen it. The first thing that stands out is its sheer size. It measures 55 meters in length with a 60-meter wingspan, even wider than the current US Air Force One aircraft. Across the upper fuselage, large red Cyrillic letters spell Rossiya, meaning Russia. On the vertical tail is the Russian tricolor of white, blue and red. That tail flag is more than decoration. It is a visible symbol of the Russian state. The cabin Traoré boarded is essentially a flying state residence. Inside are a private office, an executive suite with a king-size bed, secure conference rooms, a dining room, a bar, a gym, and a fully equipped medical compartment capable of handling medical emergencies. Now let's take a closer look at how this aircraft is built. Beneath its wings are 4 engines. Most modern presidential aircraft rely on only 2. Russia continues to operate 4 engines for additional redundancy. Even if one, or in some emergency scenarios more than one, engine fails, the aircraft is designed to continue flying safely within its certified operating limits. Russia has publicly released footage showing Su-35S fighter jets escorting this type of aircraft during international missions. Some reports also claimed fighter escorts accompanied Traoré's flight. That specific claim has never been officially confirmed, but it is broadly consistent with Russian security procedures for high-level state transport. From the outside, the aircraft looks remarkably similar to a standard Il-96 passenger aircraft. That similarity is intentional. It is designed to blend in rather than attract unnecessary attention. The aircraft Russia dispatched to collect Traoré belongs to the same Il-96 family used for transporting Russia's senior leadership, including Vladimir Putin. Russia did not ask Traoré to fly commercially, nor did it ask him to charter a private aircraft. Instead, it sent one of its own government aircraft to Ouagadougou, left it waiting overnight, and placed Traoré aboard an aircraft operated by crews responsible for transporting Russia's highest-ranking officials. A total of 29 heads of state attended the Victory Day celebrations, including Xi Jinping, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, and Alexander Lukashenko. Traoré was the only sitting head of state from West Africa in attendance. Most international news outlets mentioned his presence only briefly before moving on. But they overlooked the bigger story. In August 2022, French forces completed their withdrawal from Mali. In February 2023, French troops left Burkina Faso at the request of Ibrahim Traoré. By December 2023, France had also withdrawn its remaining forces from Niger. Then, in January 2025, France handed over its last military base in Chad. The United States also withdrew from its drone base in Niger during 2024. In September 2023, Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger created the Alliance of Sahel States. In January 2024, the 3 countries jointly announced their withdrawal from ECOWAS. As those geopolitical shifts unfolded, Russia expanded its engagement across the region. In January 2024, personnel from the Africa Corps, formed after the reorganization of the Wagner Group's operations, arrived in Ouagadougou. Their reported presence later expanded, with operations centered around Lumbila, northeast of the capital. According to public reports, their mission included supporting the protection of key officials and assisting with security operations along strategic transport corridors. Russia also expanded educational cooperation by increasing scholarship opportunities for Burkinabe students. It continued food assistance, including the shipment of 25,000 tons of wheat in late 2024. Then came one of the most significant agreements. On June 19, 2025, in St. Petersburg, Burkina Faso's Minister of Energy, and Rosatom Director General Alexei Likhachov signed a cooperation agreement on the peaceful use of nuclear energy. Rosatom has stated that a future nuclear power project could potentially be completed within approximately 5 years if all required agreements, financing and construction stages proceed as planned. For a country where fewer than 25% of the population has access to electricity, the proposal represents a potentially transformative project. Mali and Niger have also held discussions with Russia regarding civilian nuclear cooperation.